Welcome to a new session on 5th semester BSc Zoology core course paper, where we are going to deal with the section evolution. And today we are going to deal with evidences for evolution. So, in one of the previous presentations, we already saw that the organic evolution, organic theory of evolution, or we can say biochemical theory of evolution, was supported by many experimental evidences, or many scientists who conducted experiments to prove the biochemical origin of life on Earth. Okay. Now, similarly, there have been scientists who have developed experimental techniques with which it was possible to demonstrate evolution taking place in the lab conditions, especially in the 20th century. One example is like if very lower animals with short lifespans, such as fruit fly and bacteria, are allowed to reproduce in large numbers for several generations, new kinds of individuals could be detected in the progeny, especially those with very short life cycle. So it can be within a short life time span itself, we can observe many generations, and hence we can see or we can detect uh, changes happening, or a slight bit of what you call new kinds of individuals developing. So it is a kind of evolution seen during a particular in a particular species. So, but the variations will accumulate for a number of generations, finally changing the animal completely to a new species, and they cannot then interbreed with the previous species. It can only interbreed with the individuals of their own species, not with the ancestral types or the species from where they got evolved. So now mutations and polyploidy can be artificially induced, and so hence, like in that way, we can even induce development of variations among individuals of a particular species, and accumulation of these mutations can later be responsible for leading to development of a new species. Okay. Another line of experimental evidence comes from the selection and hybridization of animals and plants. So, classical example of experimental evolution is a cross between a horse and a donkey, resulting in mules. Okay, a hybrid between a horse and a donkey. And there are plenty of other such examples of hybrids developing from two different species. So, in addition to these experimental evidences, we can get evidences from various branches of biology. For example, comparative morphology, anatomy, then embryology, taxonomy, genetics, cytology, biochemical evidences. We can get plenty of evidences from all these different branches of biology. Okay, so here in this presentation, or as part of the syllabus, we will be dealing with these five different aspects. That is the morphological and anatomical evidences that could indicate evolution, then embryological evidences, physiological and biochemical evidences, paleontological evidences, and taxonomical evidences in detail, especially with citing examples. Okay, so firstly, we can see the morphological and anatomical evidences. It is generally accepted that structural similarities between groups of organisms indicate their relationship. The comparative study of morphology, that is external internal structure, the morphology and anatomy, exhibits striking similarities between certain organs or organ systems, although they show gradual adaptive modifications with respect to the habitat they live in. Okay, I hope you got it. That is, when we study when we compare or when we take up a comparative study of external and internal structures of organs of organ systems between organisms, we can see that they exhibit striking similarities between certain organs or certain organ systems. But uh, even if they show certain adaptive modifications with respect to the habitat they live in or the mode of habit they take up. So this is clearly illustrated by a number of structures. For example, homologous organs, analogous organs, We have the vestigial organs. Okay, so all these actually give an evident. It's give evidences to show that there is striking similarity, and this similarity may be because of the evolution. Okay, now first one we can go through is the homologous organs. So what are homologous organs? Organs having the same embryonic origin and basic structure but performing different functions are known as homologous organs. Okay, so homologous organs are basically like when we study the origin of these organs embryonically, they have the same embryonic origin. Basic structure, it is also the same, but they may be performing different functions, okay, to suit the habitat the organism lives in or the species lives in. So we can see a few of the examples: pentadactyl limbs of vertebrates, homology of hearts and aortic arches, homology in nervous system, homology in vertebral column and cervical vertebra, then mouth parts of insects. Okay, these are the few examples. Now, um, the relationship between homologous organs is known as homology. So, homologous organs indicate relationship between organisms due to a common origin. Okay, so the different species which may show homologous structures may have got evolved from the same ancestor. So that is what we can conclude with. So homologies are present practically in every organ system of vertebrates, and a few ones which we are going to deal is pentadactyl limb of vertebrates here. So you can see this is the basic structure of the pentadactyl limb. Pentadactyl means 5 digits. Okay, so here you can see the 5 digits, and the limb, the basic structure, it is the same. In the case of forelimb, the upper arm, it is formed of a single bone, the humerus. Then the lower arm, it is, or the forearm, is made up of two bones, the radius and ulna. And the wrist portion, it is made up of like carpals, and you can see here. Okay, and this one, the hand or the palm region, it is made up of metacarpals, and obviously the fingers, it is formed of the phalanges. Okay, similarly the hind limb, again it is also having the similar pattern of arrangement. The like thigh region, it is actually composed of a single bone, the femur. Then the shank or the lower leg, it is made up of two bones, tibia, fibula. The ankle portion, it is composed of the bones, tarsals, while the foot portion is made up of metatarsals, while the toes are supported by the bones called phalanges. Okay, so this basic pattern can be seen in various kinds of organisms. You can see over here, it is the like the bat having the pentadactyl limb nature, and but it is modified slightly for suiting in the flight adaptation. Then in the case of dolphin, again the basic structural plan remains the same, but it is externally modified to form to suit the swimming adaptation. Okay, internally it is having the same pentadactyl limb um, basic plan. Okay, then in the case of moles, okay, which show a digging habit, you can see again here also it is having a pentadactyl, typical pentadactyl limb pattern, but only one thing is it is slightly modified to suit the digging habit. Okay, here you can see a displaced carpal as well, but the number of carpals and all those arrangement is almost the same. Okay, so here again, in the case of the horse and the pigs, okay, so there the limbs are suited for walking and running, and but the internally when we check, it is having the same structural pattern. Okay, so we can conclude that all these organisms have taken its origin from the same ancestor, having a typical vertebrate limb plan, or the pentadactyl limb plan. Okay, so that is how we can like conclude. So homology is exhibited by the pentadactyl limb, and so called because typically it has 5 digits. The pentadactyl limb is found in all the 4 classes of vertebrates. Not only all these represented, they are mammals, but it is represented in all the 4 classes of vertebrates, that is the amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammals. and it can even be traced back to the fins of certain fossil fishes from which the first amphibians are thought to have evolved. And in all these cases, limbs are apparently different from one another in the form, external form and function they perform, but all of them are built on the same basic plan of the pentadactyl limb. Okay, this pattern. Okay, so um, uh, um, they all possess similar bones, and the resemblances does not end with the arrangement of bones, but extend even to the minute blood vessels, nerves, and muscles of the uh, limbs. And these similarities can be explained only by the theory of organic evolution. And according to the evolutionists, all these animals are the descendants of a common ancestor which had a similar pentadactyl limb structure. But evolutionary progress extending over millions of years have diverged them greatly to suit to different functions such as flying, we can see swimming, digging, running, walking, etc. Okay, if all these animals were created independently, as the theory of special creation proposes, they would not have developed the same structural pattern. Okay, internal structural similarity would not have occurred here. So the variations of these limbs in size and shape, shortening or lengthening of bones, reduction in number of bones or fusion of bones are only the adaptive modifications, okay, to perform specific functions. So uh, you can see, in addition to mammals, comparative studies on pentadactyl limb can be usefully extended to other vertebrate groups such as reptiles and birds. For example, if the forelimb of a bat is compared with that of a bird or a extinct flying reptile, that is pterosaurus or pterodactyl, we can make it clear that they are homologous because all are modifications of the common pattern of forelimbs in the land vertebrates. And here, all the three, that is the bird, the bat, then the pterodactyl, are adapted to perform the same function of flight, but the way this has been accomplished is different in each case. For instance, in the bat, the wing is supported by four long digits, okay, second to fifth. Here you can see in the case of bat, okay. But in the bird, the entire limb minus the digits 4 and 5 supports the wings. And in the pterodactyl, it is supported by a very long fifth digit. While the first to fourth is almost reduced, the fifth digit it is elongated and it supports the wings. Okay, so this is how the pentadactyl limb of vertebrates can be taken as an example to prove the evolution of different species from the common ancestor. Okay, so it actually supports the organic theory of evolution, that is, the life evolves from a pre-existing life, and this pre-existing life is what is not taken as an ancestor. Okay, here the ancestral stock had a what do you call, the pentadactyl limb structure, and from such an ancestor with a pentadactyl limb structure had given rise to all these different kinds of organisms having the same limb pattern, but it is external form and functions the limb perform is modified with respect to the habitat the species lives in. Okay, so this is one example which shows the morphological and anatomical evidences that can prove the process of evolution. Okay, thank you.